When I was a child, I grew up in a house with a father that was a surgeon. And so from the very early on, as far back as I can remember, I was going to be a doctor, just like Dad. And people would ask that of me all the time as I was growing up. And I just cannot think of anything that I was going to do other than to be a medical doctor. And as I was growing up, I spent a lot of time interested in the sciences. I probably did the usual things: catch frogs, dissect frogs. I spent a lot of time outdoors. I just very much reveled in all things science, biology, chemistry. I enjoyed those subjects in school, and that was really what my career path looked like. That's where I was heading. My father was a physician in a small town of 2,000. And it was unique because there was a clinic that had over 30 doctors, and most of them lived in our town. And so you interacted with a lot of doctors and a lot of people who worked in the hospital and the clinic, and that just continued to be the theme for me, was what are you going to be when you grow up? And it continually said, I'm going to be a doctor, just like my dad. And as a high school student, when I was getting ready to go to college, the director of the clinic came to me and he said, now when you finish, you come back and we'll have a job for you as a doctor. And so that just was what I was destined to be, or so I thought. And I spent a lot of time planning that. I worked in the clinic doing maintenance. I didn't do anything with patients. They wouldn't let me do that, but I was around it from my junior year of high school all the way through college. I worked there every year during the summers, and just was very immersed in that, and prepared myself through college as a biology and chemistry major, and spent time doing some shadowing of doctors while I was in college, and continued that path. That was what I was going to do, and then was accepted into medical school. And went to the University of Kansas Medical School for 2 years, and was thoroughly miserable and knew that this was not what I was supposed to do, but did not know what I was going to do. Very much a crisis of faith, crisis of career choice. What was I going to do? So when I left medical school, I did several lab jobs that were not going to be long-term. They were not, with my education as a Bachelor of Science, not going to promote me to anything higher than working in the lab. And again, I just was bewildered. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. And so I went back to my undergraduate institution and talked with my advisor from my undergraduate school, and he said, well, you're supposed to be a teacher. And I said, what do you mean I'm supposed to be a teacher? He said, no, you're supposed to go and teach. You're supposed to be in college. And I said, well, why didn't you tell me that? He said, you wouldn't have listened. And he was absolutely right. There was no way I would have listened to that from anybody at the time, because I thought I knew God was calling me to be a doctor. It was almost a night and day difference, a 180-degree change, going from being completely uncertain of my future and what I was going to do, sitting in a dead-end job, not sure where I was going with my career or with my life, and hearing Dr. Walker say that to me, and then walking out and thinking, he's absolutely right. I loved sitting talking with him. I loved his courses. I loved the way that he taught. And I'm certain that if he were to see me teach, that what he did has bled over into what I do, the way I teach. And I just walked out, and it was a complete revelation. There's just no other way to say it. It lifted a burden. It took away a lot of anxiety. And so I planned right away. He had gone to Ball State in Muncie and had recommended the program to me. And it was March and you don't apply to graduate schools in March and get accepted. But I tried, and they actually accepted me right away and even had an assistantship, so I didn't have to pay. And so in April, I came out, visited, signed up for classes, and in August I moved and started classes in August. I mean, it was just literally that fast of a turnaround. And met some great faculty in my graduate experience that continued the path of nurturing me and working me towards teaching and giving me teaching experiences along the way, as well as research in the sciences. But absolutely moved me from a place of complete, I don't know, to a complete sense of peace about what I was going to do. And took 4 years of graduate school, and then took my first teaching position in Oklahoma that lasted for 2 years, and then moved back to Indiana, and took another 2 years before I was able to start working at Anderson as a contract faculty member, and then became full-time, as I said, 18 years ago. And I just cannot explain how peaceful the journey has been. It's not been without its ups and downs, but definitely feel and know this is what I'm supposed to do. I just cannot ever see myself doing something else.